Hello everyone, I'm Meteorologist Charlie Ironmonger. Thank you so much for joining me today for your 1 p.m. news and weather update from the First Alert desk. Now there has again been a lot of discussion and reaction really to the shooting death of Charlie Kirk, the political activist, yesterday at Utah Valley University. And that reaction again coming from both sides of the aisle, with even President Trump weighing in on the matter. NBC's Peter Alexander has more on the role of violence in our political theater.
This morning, bipartisan condemnation and outrage after the assassination of an influential young conservative voice.
This is a dark moment for America.
Overnight, President Trump, who hours earlier announced Charlie Kirk's death, praising the 31-year-old's ability to energize a new generation of conservatives. But with the manhunt for Kirk's shooter still ongoing, the president casting blame on what he calls the radical left.
Violence and murder are the tragic consequence of demonizing those with whom you disagree day after day, year after year, in the most hateful and despicable way possible.
Vice President Vance mourning the loss of a friend, writing overnight, "When I became the VP nominee, something Charlie advocated for both in public and in private, Charlie was there for me." On the House floor, a moment of silence.
Please rise for a moment of prayer for Charlie Kirk and his family.
But underscoring the bitterness of today's politics, even that devolved into a brief shouting match.
The House will be in order.
We've got to turn the volume down. There's a lot of the people, I think, that find pleasure in stoking that fire, and it's dangerous.
Another measure of the moment, all four former presidents denouncing Kirk's murder. California's Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom, who welcomed the right-wing activist on his podcast earlier this year, calling the attack disgusting, vile, and reprehensible, adding, "We must reject political violence in every form." But the frequency of these targeted political attacks is only growing. There were not one but two attempts on President Trump's life last year. And this summer, a Democratic state lawmaker and her husband were killed in Minnesota. An arsonist also firebombed the residence of Pennsylvania's Governor Josh Shapiro on Passover. Two survivors of previous political assassination attempts speaking out. Former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords condemning Wednesday's attack as un-American. Louisiana lawmaker Steve Scalise, who survived a shooting at a congressional softball practice, saddened.
Even third world countries, you don't see that. It shouldn't happen.
Growing fears this morning, this latest attack is putting the U.S. on a dangerous course.
And again, that was NBC's Peter Alexander reporting. But we now want to turn our attention to some good news here in eastern North Carolina, in that a retired Marine has been approved for Medal of Honor. And this is a very, very cool and important thing that the National Defense Authorization Act approved. It was back in June that we reported on the efforts to award retired Major James Capers, Jr. of Jacksonville the Medal of Honor for numerous acts of valor while serving as a member of the U.S. Marine Corps during the Vietnam War. Now, the act, which now goes to the Senate for approval, authorizes President Trump to bestow that honor upon Major James Capers, Jr. Once it passes the Senate, it will be up to the president to do that. You can watch the story we did with retired Major James Capers Jr. by following a link on our website, WITN.com. Now we want to turn to your weather forecast. Today has been a repeat of yesterday's pattern. We've seen cooler than average air temperatures. Right now, most of us in the low 70s to mid 70s. We've seen plenty of cloud cover and even some light rain showers. Yesterday it was kind of that misty drizzle. Today we're looking at a little bit more in terms of substantial rain, but even then, calling it substantial kind of feels like a lie a little bit, not actually accurate. There's light showers right now coming down across parts of eastern North Carolina, certainly not covering up the entire state. And that's what I really want to highlight with this image. We've been stuck under the clouds now for 2 days, and we're probably, thinking like, all right, well, the sun's got to come out some point. And I want you to realize we are very, very close to breaking out in sunshine The problem is we just have a low pressure system pretty much right along our coast, pretty much sitting right off the coast of Cape Lookout. And that low is creating the cloudy conditions that are keeping us, well, gray today. But back towards Charlotte and Greensboro and Asheville, Boone, everything's looking beautiful and sunny outside. So if you're really dying for a little bit more of that vitamin D today, again, my best advice to you is head west or be patient, because tomorrow we are going to receive all of that sunshine. Tomorrow's going to be a very sunny day. Today, not going to be the case. Again, still tracking some light rain showers moving in out of the northeast. For now, again, some of the heavier rain showers we've seen so far today have come across Gates, Hartford, Northampton, Halifax, Bertie, Martin, and Edgecombe counties. That's where we've seen the most rainfall so far today, but even some of those a little bit south of Highway 64 starting to get into the mix. We've got some rain showers around Bethel, extending back towards Farmville, areas around northern Greene County, again seeing some rain showers, Washington, Chocowinity. You guys are again experiencing some light drizzle right now. Nothing again super intense, but we can see it when we look through our Washington camera there. You can kind of see just some of those light raindrops falling on the Pamlico River, a little bit more of that gray haze off to the left-hand side of your screen, again indicating rainfall. 74 degrees right now in Washington, comes with a northerly breeze at 7 miles an hour. Dew points in the mid-60s. Those are going to be coming down later on this afternoon and into the evening hours. It's going to take pretty much all night long to really drop those humidity numbers down to a more comfortable level. When you step outside, you'll feel the difference. That point comes up tomorrow. Right now, we've got 72 degrees in New Bern along the Neuse River, north-northwesterly wind at about 10 miles an hour, and dew point just a touch higher than what we're seeing right now in Beaufort County in Washington. Hey, Pirate Cam, 70 degrees, northerly wind, 8 miles an hour, dew point, low 70s. That's where we find ourselves right now. Generally with air temperatures between around 70 to 75 degrees. Hatteras, Stumpy Point, I see you guys at 77. Not trying to discredit your heat that you're hopefully enjoying right now, but do kind of just want to give everybody kind of the perspective that we're kind of all in the same boat together right now. There's not one spot that's significantly warmer than another. Eastern North Carolina right now is gray, gloomy, and a little bit humid, considering how cool our air temperatures are right now. Now that humidity tracker does point to relief on the way. That will be here coming up tomorrow, and it will last through the upcoming weekend. We may see a little bit of a return of that humidity coming up next week, but right now it's certainly not looking like summertime humidity, more so the type of humidity that you would expect to see through the middle of September. For this afternoon, highs possibly getting up towards the upper 70s right now. I think we actually may need to come down on some of those numbers, but overall, again, cloudy skies stick with us. Overnight lows dropping down below 70 degrees as we head towards midnight. That will leave us in the low 60s for tomorrow morning, again, helping push that humidity out of eastern North Carolina. Really kind of squeezes it out of the atmosphere. 64 degrees by 8, 67 by 9, 70 by 10, up to 77 degrees by noon. Lunch tomorrow could be held in the 80s, low 80s that is, 2 p.m., 80 degrees, 81 between 3, 4, and 5 p.m. with that northeasterly wind coming in at about, we'll give it 7 to 15 miles an hour. Stronger winds along the coast, inland areas more of a 5 to 10 mile per hour breeze, thanks to, again, that area of high pressure further back towards the west. That high is going to do a great job of pushing out the cloud cover, reducing the humidity, and making it feel like a very comfortable weekend, the type of weekend we always hope for this time of year. Now, we do need to talk about the tropics briefly, as we do have an area of concern. Now, the actual area of concern is not within that yellow blob in the middle of the Atlantic. That's where the area of concern will be over the next 7 days. But right now, the area of concern is still over Africa, has yet to make it out into the Atlantic. So over the next 48 hours, 0 chance of tropical formation. Over the next 7 days, 30% chance of formation, but again, that's not all that high, and certainly not one you need to be overly concerned about at this point in the forecast. Here's a look at your Full 8-day forecast, 82 coming up for tomorrow, 80 on Saturday, 83 on Sunday, with overnight lows hovering around the 60-degree point. Coming up next week, those overnight lows come up maybe a couple degrees, but not so much that it's really going to rock the forecast one way or another. We will have a chance of some rain showers coming up through next week, starting Monday, lasting through Thursday. What looks like Tuesday and Wednesday being the wettest days of the week, but even then, not looking at widespread showers, just a chance of maybe a few coastal drops trying to swing their way in to eastern North Carolina. Well, that's all we have time for today's 1 p.m. news and weather update from the First Alert Desk. I want to thank you all so much for joining me. We'll be back with more news and weather coming up at the top of the hour. Until then, I hope you all have a fantastic Thursday.
This hour of the WITN First Alert Desk is sponsored by Supreme Choice.